Alright, it is Deck Sage time. Now, real quick before we get started, some minor housekeeping. I have 5 decks left in the queue. Once this is done, I am officially out of decks. If you want more decks reviewed, you're going to have to send them in. Otherwise, I will have to kind of put the show on a little bit of a hiatus until maybe the next set comes out. Feel free, send them in. I know that it's been kind of awkward because I want to have 5 decks to do, and then I get explosions of decks sometimes, and it's just kind of hard to line things up sometimes. But without further ado, I do have 5 brand new deck lists to review. I have Fight Me IRL. This was sent in by No Soup for You. They have been to Materia Cup. This is for serious tourney play and practice. Felt close to greatness, except when I get high rolled by aggro. Not sure if Mono Earth can fight back early enough. It's surprisingly hard to find things that just do what you want them to. Everything requires a combo piece. Things that did not pan out: Lich, Cecil, and Cecil, Genova, Gudon, and Tulian. Okay, so let's take a look at the list. So we're on a Mono Earth control package. It looks like with playing Noctis, Ignis, and Gladio. Okay. So let's take a look at the backups real quick. Geomancer. So we're on Geomancer, Miner. We're not on Leatherworker. I'm a really big fan of Leatherworker. If you're committing to the Mono Earth backup package, okay, cool. It is gonna let me do this. If you're gonna commit to the Mono Earth package, I really like Leatherworker's just sheer speed. I know that the utility of Vincent and Kryl are nice. Yeah, we're also on Claris, Kolka, but Claris, I guess Claris gets Leo as well, but I feel like Epitaph would just go so nicely in here to try to curve that out. We have the one Matoya and the one Shantoto, but I'm also looking over here and I'm seeing the Noctis, and the only way I see the Noctis coming in is off of either Leo or Shantoto, or I guess Riku, but all of that just seems kind of slow to me. So we can't play 5 CP Shantoto because of the color restriction, but we can run stuff like Tyro, and Tyro's not a great backup. If it's me, what I would do is I would cut the Star Sibyls, because our only targets for it are Shantoto herself, and I guess the Geomancers? I guess the Keycurrent as well. The Keycurrent's fine, but I'm looking at this as more of a we're on 18 backups, which is just so many cards. I feel like we can go 3 Miner, 3 Leatherworker, use the Kings along with our Leo as a package, and then Shantoto Tyro, maybe with the Geomancer in there. So let's try cleaning that up real quick. Not as proficient with Materia Hunter. Fantastic website. I love Materia Hunter. I'm just so used to let's see. Add cards. Yeah, it's going to be a little hard for me to do this here, but I would go down to this, add in the Leatherworkers, add in the 1 copy of Epitaph to try to do that. I know that the Genova Synthesis didn't pan out for you, but I still think it's probably worth it being in here at least 1. And I'm not sold on the Noctis without a way to hard cast it. So I really think you need to have, if you're going to run the Noctis, I really think Tyro or the second Shantoto would really be important. And I also think the second Shantoto is actually really nice in the current meta, kind of slowing the game state down. They were really indexing into fight effects. I also think like Shinryu, you run 3 or 0 Shinryu in my opinion, like in every deck. So like I would bump this up. Like Noctis for Ignis is really cool. But I also wonder at that point, we don't necessarily have to be on Mono Earth, right? Like the Mount Leonis likes Earth characters, but we can run a lot of other cards in the backup line potentially, especially with like Ignis, Gladio. Like I feel like we should just commit to the retainer package, run the 3 Prompto, and run the Irises and backups. I don't know. I feel like you're torn between doing 2 things. I guess is the best way I can put it. I'd like to see that backups trimmed from 18. I just feel like you're going to run out of action in the late game. I know the Geomancer helps with that a little bit. And then I think the forwards, I really am worried about casting Noctis, which means the Gladio is a lot worse if you can't actually cast them. Really interesting idea, though. I know that, let's see, mentioned Lich, Demonoliths. I feel like New Lich wouldn't be horrible in this, especially if you're on a forward focus. I'd almost like to see the 3rd Mont Leonis come in, and maybe even like to see the monster count upped a little bit. Cecil and Cecil. Okay, I could see that. Genova. I think Genova needs to be in here at 1. I'm sorry. Gudon, I don't think is great. Tulian, I really think it's just a combo card for very specific decks struggle with removal, but you're not struggling with removal, so I don't think Tulian is a great fit for this deck. Yeah, I'd really focus on dialing in that backup line, especially if we do want to cast an Noctis. That's the big advice that I can give. Up next, we have 21 Go-Go Chaos Rangers. This is from Kurjan. They've been to Materia Cup, want to compete seriously. Deck is for locals, but they want to take it seriously. Bit of a fun deck with some interesting synergies. Go-Go copying Chaos Lilith's abilities. Renoa flickering Melusine or Chaos. Sephiroth Man in Black for more value. Looking for more general thoughts. Not really sure about the ratio of the backups. Oh, shoot. Especially... okay, so really want to look at the backups especially. Okay. Simple enough. So let's take a look here. So we have Lilith, Melusine. We're on all of... No, we're not on all of the Ice Lightnings. Okay. We have the Castalian Empire, Sid, not a lot of... Alright. And Spiritus, which I guess is for the crystal stuff. Okay. Let's dial in on this a little bit. Let's take a look. Deck editor. Lilith, Melusine, Go-Go. I'm going to consider the core. Chaos is also okay. So we're doing Chaos Arc, Lilith, Melusine. If we're on Chaos Arc, we're on Man in Black. That's correct. If we're on Lilith, Go-Go, we're in Ice Lightning, so we need to be on Sephiroth. Renoa. So here's my issues with Renoa here. She's like cute, but we're actually giving up a lot of power to play her, right? Like we're not on Zeromus at all. We're not on Lightning at all. We're kind of like trying to use Terra for that. Or like as another go, but like Renoa like flickers Melusine and Chaos for more steals. I would rather just let them break the Chaos and the Melusine and play new ones. So I would personally cut the Renoa. Let's look at the summons real quick. 3, that's Shiva. I think that's great. This Odin's a lot worse if we're not on. I like that. I'm going to cut this Odin. I think it's just generally outclassed by this when you have the Arc as well. Puts us on 10 summons. I feel pretty good there. So, backups. Generally, I think that especially if you're in Ice Lightning, I want to go engines. So I think I'm going to totally revamp this one. Not that there's not interesting ideas here, I just really want to focus on engines. There's 3 of them that are viable. What are the ones that I like the most in this situation? Probably Reeve. Kate Sith seems really solid. Probably have to run 1 copy of Vincent. This actually pairs pretty decently with Go-Go as well, so I think we're actually okay with that. We probably want to run President Shinra, Cisne, and it probably means you have to run. You put one copy of Rufus in the main deck, or the forward lineup. I'm gonna run 2 of each of those. We'll get greedy. So then we have. I really don't want the backups to go above 8. So I'm gonna run 3 copies of Knight. I think Chadley is really, really good in any Chaos Arcless. And I also like 1 copy of Orisha to try to get our summons. This Orisha can turn arcs into live summons or turn these summons into arc, depending on the circumstances. And that's it. That's all I would run for backups, which does leave a bit of room for forwards. And pretty easy here. We can just tag in 3 lightnings. This gives us more to copy with our Go-Go. We can make our opponent discard 2 cards. Or we can make Go-Go break 2 dull forwards, or we can... Like, it's more fuel for Go-Go, while also just being a generally pretty strong card. You could go, like, 2 Lightnings, 2 Zeromuses. It feels very weird to not have Zeromus in this list, but I also kind of think that you're going to go a slower game plan anyway. But I would go with something like this and see how this fares. Maybe the backups need a little bit more tinkering. I'm not a big fan of the Spiritus just because you can't play it if you already have the Chaos on the field. And we're going to brick so hard on backups if we're on the dark, extra dark backup. You could run a lot of other options for sure here, but I generally think this is a pretty solid package for what the deck is trying to do. And up next, 21, Tulian's Fight Club. This was also sent in by Kurjan. Been to Materia Cup. This is for locals. General idea is to force fights with Tulian, Sarah, Cloud, using high-value attackers that make your opponents want to block. Durando, Lorenzo. Rug and Sanctuary Keeper make your guys bigger than theirs. And Keeper, Sage, Rosa, keep Lorenzo, and Une in the game longer. General feedback in all areas. Was considering Alice. Slots seem tight. Thanks in advance. Loving the deck Sage series. I appreciate it. Alright, so we're on Earth Water. I'm Okay, I had to reread Lorenzo because it's been a little while. So Lorenzo is interesting. He does become pretty large, and like if you reactivate him, like there's pretty okay text on him. But to me, I think a lot of what he does, I think Durando actually does better. Um, so what I would instead probably look to do, I actually like a lot of the core of this list. Like Rug plus Durando is actually pretty nasty. Let's take a look. Let's open this in the deck editor. I would go towards Trinity stuff. So if you don't remember the Trinity that I talk about all the time, this also means we don't have the dependency on Sanctuary Keeper. If we cut the Tulians as well. Oh, not the Tulians, the Lorenzos. Okay. Uh, Durando, Arciela, Prish. This was all released in Opus 17, and they form basically a perfect loop. Arciela gives all of your forwards protection. Durando gives you infinite resources, and Prish gives you infinite removal. And all of these, if all three of these are on the field at the same time, your opponent really doesn't have anything they can do. So in that situation, what are we actually missing? You have the clouds and the Tulians for removal. I like Tulian better than Cloud for this list. I'm going to leave the Cloud out, just because I think Cloud really needs other FF7 characters to get value. I'm not a fan of the Rosa and the Sage. I know you had them in there for Lorenzo earlier, but I think that, like, to me, Durando is just better. So then it's a matter of how much do we care about Une. I think Une at 1 is fine, but if we're only running her at 1, I'm going to cut the Rosa and the Sages out entirely. And instead, I want some recovery. Let's get, like, a copy of Ignis in here to get some extra forward recovery in. I actually really like Galif as a 1-of in this list, as like an additional thing that like Rug can make fight on attack. And we're actually pretty low on water, so I actually want water forwards here with like some decent effects and utility. The Fiend wouldn't be horrible as like another way of just like turning off interaction, making your big guys harder to interact with. That's actually fine. We can throw 3 Garnet in for now. You actually have a pretty high summon count. I feel pretty good bumping this up. Your backups... Your backups look really good. The only thing I would change is the Luca. What do I change the Luca for? I'm not sure I do change the Luca out and put something else in. I might just cut it and make room for 1 more card. Yeah, 1 more backup probably would go pretty nicely. What's the best kind of just a decent little utility backup we could have? We can go for the bunny. Yeah, we're on the generals. I actually kind of like having 2 Loporits. Also shuffled back like the King Concordia or the Kolka. I would go other Kolka in this list in particular. I think that like searching your oh, no, 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 no. We don't go Whopper it. Let's put the other Kolka in because I think that's better. I just realized what the actual card we put there, or put in this list is in that slot. Kolka. Lars is really good here. Search Galif, Rug, Ignis, or Une, depending on the situation. Yeah, this looks really good. I actually like this like a lot, a lot. I think this is really clever. You are going to struggle a little bit against aggro, but you do have the two Shantotos. The Hekkas hopefully help with that a little bit. Yeah. If you wanted to put the what's his name, Lorenzo back in, you could probably cut the Prish for it. I just think that like the dependencies on not needing to find Sanctuary Keeper or Rosa or whoever else are just so much cleaner. And Prish does do a pretty good job at like protecting things and being just kind of generally frustrating for your opponent to deal with. Alright, Zodiark damage prevention. So sent in by Tarpier. Been to locals, want to get better. Looking to leverage Gabranth or Mont's damage prevention to allow for an occasional one-sided board wipe with Zodiark, along with a number of recursion effects to get Gabranth or Zodiark back to hand if they hit the break zone. Beginner looking to improve. Okay. Alright. Let's take a look-see right here. So, I guess we're on Dark Forwards trying to reduce the cost of Zodiark. We're on Xenos and Kadaj to enable that. Do I like that? I feel like I would go one or the other here. I know the idea is to do that. So the couple things that I'm immediately seeing. I really like the Montleonis here. But we want if we're trying to make it difficult for our opponent to kill us, we need a lot more characters than this to make the Montleonis really good. Which means we probably need to spec into monsters quite a bit. I do think there's a lot of merit to the Zodiark combo here, though. So let's start with the backups. We have good ideas here. I like trying to go for 3-ofs, but the one thing that is true here is we are on 3-ofs of cards with unique names. When they're an engine card like Claris, that's really important, but a card like Kolka, we're trying to search out of the deck. We're not trying to draw multiples of Kolka. So I would say to put him down to 1. Sid Garland is great, but again, if we're going to run him, we need to run him at just 1 copy. White Mage is to play. Okay, so I've not read this Gabranth before. This is actually a new card for me. So I see the idea there. I see the same thing with Kryl here. Don't worry, we'll get the backup count padded out in just a second. White Mage that can revive the Gabranth or the Galif. I think we're just a little low on targets. It's an interesting idea. There's no timing restriction, which is actually kind of nice. I'll leave her in at like 1 for now. You could play with her, put her higher or lower as the game, as like playtesting goes on. I do want to flesh out your backup engines quite a bit, though. So the best engine, you've already found it. It's the Claris King engine, but we need a lot more kings than just the Kolka. So we're going to add 1 copy of Epitaph. I don't know what your budget is here, unfortunately. I think even if you're not on, if you're on a budget, you don't have to play the Leo. If you are on a budget, you probably can just get away without it. I know you from locals. I think you are generally someone who doesn't spend a ton of money. And I think Leo is like a $10 card right now. So if you want to hold off on the Leos, we could test with this instead. We just run the Miras here. The other nice thing, actually, that the Zodiarch that you kind of have almost stumbled upon is that it actually is really good. It's a really good one-sided board clear if you can prevent the damage from going your way. So, let's prevent the damage from going our way. Let's get those monsters so we actually have a way to win the game once our opponent clears us. Generally, the package has been like 1 copy of Ahriman, 3 zombies, and Behemoth is like passable enough. I've seen some success with like Hilgigus is like really funny. Yeah, let's be a jerk with a copy of Hilgigus as well. I really like Gigas as just a blocker as well. Just a big bungus that you can use to turn on your Ahriman. But we'll do the more standard line. We'll go with like an Antlion and like 2 copies of Gigas FFTCG. So now we have our monsters, our behemoths, our zombies. We have ways of winning the game, right? We need to finish our backup lineup out a little bit. We have our engine for that. We have our 3 leatherworkers. We just need a little more consistency on getting to them. Pretty easy way to do this would be just to run 3 copies of Miner, 2 copies of Shantoto. I think that's probably okay. Summons. Okay, this is where things get a little trickier. We probably have to go down on these a little bit. Carbuncle's a really sick card in a deck like this. Trying to think what the best way to sacrifice our own Montleonis will end up being. We'll get to that in just a second. Mont, Ignis, these aren't going anywhere. I'm going to cut the Chaoses out of the list. Genova Synthesis at 2 is fine. If Kefka, I'm okay with him at 1, but we don't want to go much higher than that. I'm going to say we're going to run just Kadaj, so that we have like the 1 sticky forward for the Zodiarch. Galif, let's put Gabrantha down a little bit. And I actually don't think we want to eat or break some with our Ursiella here. Okay, so then from here, gotta cut 3 more cards. And I also need a way to get our Montleonis into the break zone. Honestly, Gigas does get the Mont in the break zone. We can actually play Gigas early, pay 3 and tap it to shoot our own Montleonis to go for game if we wanted to do that. So actually I really like that at 3. We can cut the Mandragora. I'm going to cut the Hilgigas. It's a little annoying, but it's not really what we're looking for here. That also kills Gabranth as well, which is great. 2 left. We can cut the Genova Synthesis to 1. And cut the Carbuncle to 1. I think something like this Yeah, that looks really nice. Um, so admittedly, we do have to find the Zodiark at the right time. We don't have a ton of ways to get the Zodiark out of our hand. But what we do have is a lot of ways to now stall the game out. We have a win condition for once we use the Zodiark without taking the damage ourselves. And Zodiark is very hard for our opponent to respond to. Um, I think Kadaj gives us a lot of interesting options for defensive tools. And yeah, this looks nice. I like this. We now Epitaph has an easy search target. Kolka gets any Earth forward, which is great. So our Claris has 2 good targets. The 3 Leatherworkers, the 3 Miners to dig for more backups. Yeah, I like this quite a bit. Lastly, but not least, we have a list sent in by Pandas, who's sent in a Fire Ice DFF, been to a Materia Cup, want to compete seriously. This is for serious tourney play and practice. Used to run 2 of the Wind 2-cost Wall and 1 of T's, but they felt too slow, is all that they mentioned. Alright. Let us take a look here. Where do I want to start? Let's start with the backups real quick. So we're on a crystal deck, so we're on the full complement of knights. We have 3 samurai, 2 samurai. So we're just all in on the standard unit backups. 1 copy of Edward, 1 Kuchaspol, 1 class second. Scholar Idols. So the first thing that I see here that concerns me a little bit is we don't necessarily have an engine. I'm a little. I would be a little worried about, do we actually have the consistency of getting both colors of backups down? I know that we want to have a lot of crystals, but we have lots of ways to generate them. We have cyan, we have Terra, we have all the backups. So if it's me, what I would probably do here is I would just cut these entirely. I think I also probably cut the Iodolus. I'm just not a huge fan of the card. It's just so high investment. Like, all the text is good, but not amazing. I would go to 3/3 on these. I like this Edward, but I like him in a different type of list. And there's actually a really nice utility if we ran this one, which is that this is a DFF character. So we can actually search Edward off of our Barts, which gives us a nice neutral play if we don't have a certain other thing we want to do. Similarly, I probably want to fire DFF backup. Fire backup category DFF. What is the best DFF backup we have access to? Are we on an ace right now? We're not on an ace. Probably be on like 1 copy of ace here. That way we have like our full sets of engines. And then we want probably at least like 1 other backup engine. I want to get to go back to 15 backups. For you, I'd probably just say Miyu. Like 2 Miyu and a Tono. Miyu can search herself if you already draw the Tono, which is nice. It means the engine's going to be live probably no matter what. Gets you to 15 backups. Seems like a pretty decent number. Forwards, we have a lot of really nice cards. Soul plays 4 or less, 4 or less. Oh, we're actually right at 50 cards here. I'd say we bumped Cyan to 3. And I would drop one copy of Shantoto. Probably this Shantoto. Go 2/2 on the Shantotos. I think Cyan actually is going to do a lot more for you than you think. If I wanted to make one other change, it'd probably be putting the Ashtola to 1. Just add a cheeky copy of Jin into the list. Jin's going to pair really well with cards like the Ashtola in here, with your 3 Cyans, with your Firion. I think it makes a big difference to have access to that. Pairs really well with your Demon. I would go with something like this. Means that Bartz gets you either colors of your backups if you need them. That looks really good. Thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. I do need more deck lists, otherwise it's going to go on a short hiatus. And yeah, thank you all.